All right, okay.
All right, so JC, tell us what is coming in the build tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
That's
right? So I've seen some people asking us to nerf Orochi in the chat.
Yeah.
So I took the time in between two segments.
Oh, just now.
To just run back to my computer and then talk with the designers. We push some like nerfs really quickly.
Yeah.
And then we're nerfing Orochi.
Oh, wow.
So
asking you shall receive.
Yeah, right. So Orochi has been overperforming. That's not a surprise to anybody.
Yeah.
So we're doing some adjustments to the hero so that it's becoming a little bit less annoying to play against. Right. So first off, Zephyr Slash. So that's our side dodge lights. They're no longer enhanced, including off target opponents. So we've done this with, you probably remember, with Berserker last title update. And so proved to be rather fruitful, knocked the hero down a peg or two, went from like, super high tier to, respectable still. So experiment proved to be fruitful, so we're giving it to Orochi. We'll see if we need to give it to other dodge cancel heroes, how that kind of goes. But for now, Orochi really, really needed it. Essentially, this was used to initiate offense extremely safely. Not something we want to have like too much in the game. Like there needs to be like some sort of safer offense, but not to the point of defensive moves are used overly offensively. That's not really our intent, so we're trying to switch that around. We've also lowered the damage from the top heavy finisher from 32.
Good old Orochi nerf.
30 is, even though it's kind of weird to say that because Soy does 95 off of one thing, but off of like normal attack that you throw all the time. 30, we're trying to hit for 30 as our like top end. Sometimes we're going to go a little bit above in certain situations, but really 30 here makes a lot of sense. Not from 32. So again, 32 was a bit too high, so we're kind of lower that a little bit more. We've also adjusted the weapon trajectories for the side heavy finishers to better fit the weapon visuals. I love to use these terms because it's like the most confusing thing ever.
It's a very practiced term.
Basically, what it means, if it's confusing to you, is the hitboxes of the side heavy finishers are smaller. Like that's all it is. But the idea here is that Orochi has very, very, very good side heavy finishers, and it was something that we did way back when on purpose to make, because Orochi was underperforming for a super long time, right? And we kept trying to like adjust him so like he tried to go into a good spot, and we put those attacks are like 700 MS. They have huge trajectories. They have a lot of forward movement. It took a long time for players to realize and see their potential. But now that it's there and it's used a lot more, we see that it's too strong, right? So because of this, we want to really adjust this downwards a little bit more so that it doesn't feel
nerf
like
all Orochis to the ground.
Going towards there, I'm hitting here, you're super far away, I'm still going to hit you. So we're trying to adjust this a little bit more so that it makes a bit more sense here. We've also lowered the forward movement on all of these heavy finishers, again, to help with those situations where you could target swap to somebody that was far away, do a side heavy finisher, hit somebody on your side really safely from super far away, and like really advance like crazy, so you could also also get safe from them. So it's a lot of like targeted nerfs to Orochi to lower his effectiveness specifically in group fights. None of these have any real, maybe aside from like the top heavy finisher, they don't really have an impact on 1v1s. It's really like for more group fight ability that is a bit more problematic. And then finally, the last one, which I'm going to have to explain because I don't think a lot of people are going to completely understand the issue, but it's an actual pretty serious one. So we've increased the chain link timing from Dust Devil, which is a front dodge kick, to heavy finishers by 100 MS at minimum. So what you could do, and you can do on live, I don't want to see anybody do it on live right now. I don't want to see it. But basically you could Dust Devil somebody, right? So front dodge bash, target swap to somebody else, and then do a side heavy finisher, because that's what it can chain to, and get that hit confirmed on the person you bashed initially, right? Because it's 700 MS, and it's a big trajectory, and the trajectory starts before the hit timing, right? So normally, like if it lands on the person I'm locked on to at 700 milliseconds, because there's a swing before, the hitbox starts earlier. So it was guaranteed on opponents if you did like that exact sequence of events. It doesn't always happen, but getting that much damage off of a front dodge bash was way too strong. So by reducing that, well, actually making that chaining timing a little bit longer, it ensures that this is no longer possible. They'll be blockable. You should be in a good spot. So for Orochi right now, this is what we're doing. We're going to still keep an eye on it. We know that a lot of people are having a hard time with Storm Rush, for example.
Yeah.
So we're keeping an eye on the hero, seeing where this is going to drop to, and then adjust accordingly again, right, to try to go forward and make the hero a bit more balanced so it's not overly frustrating to play against. I've seen some tier lists where Orochi is in his own tier at the top. This is not what we want, right?
Yeah.
That's definitely not what we want, so we need to address things as they go.
Gotcha. All right.
Next up, we have some Lawbringer buffs. Right now, so for today, just to make it clear, to temper expectations,
Lawbringer patch.
we're dealing with damage. We're raising the damage on some of his attacks. It might look like there's only 1 or 2, whatever. But we'll go into a little bit more detail afterwards. So I'll just start with, right now, the top of the opener now deals 23 damage, up from 20. What this means is a top heavy is going to deal 23 plus the guaranteed 4 afterwards, which deals 27, which is the normal damage for a top heavy that is at that speed. We had initially put it at 20 because, interestingly enough, in the testing grounds, and before that testing grounds actually, Lawbringer had long arm guaranteed off of any guard break.
Right.
And so because of this, when you did guard break long arm to somebody, you could deal 27 damage off of a guard break. That guard break punish was too high. We need to lower it down a little bit. But then when we went live, we had removed the long arm off of the guard break, but this stayed at 20. And so now, like, clearly it's obvious it needs to be a little bit higher than 20. There's also situations where getting wall splats did not feel super good because then you got a little bit less damage. So we're trying to readjust this here so that it makes a lot more sense with the damage that Lawbringer should be dealing in those situations.
Right.
Same for Zone Attack and Make Way. They deal 16, even though it just feels like it's one damage above 15. It's a small adjustment, but again, it's to be more in line with like zone attacks of that speed of parry punishes that like are a bit more consistent with the damage output that Lawbringer generally has. And then finally, Impaling Riposte and Impaling Charge now deal 3 damage up from 1. Now you might go 3 instead of 1. Who cares, right? The big difference here is that before these changes, one of the side effects of us putting Impaling Riposte specifically on only light parries was that the move became only really useful and only like desirable to do if you would ledge somebody or if you would push somebody into a trap. If you wall splatted, you would get less damage than a light parry into a top heavy. Yeah. So with the change to the top heavy opener damage and the change to Impaling Riposte, it means that you get slightly more damage than a top heavy if you manage to hit a wall. So that was really like, it's not a huge amount more, but it still makes the move, it's a better outcome in those scenarios. So we wanted to give like a little bit more viability and more versatility to Lawbringer. And we know that's what Lawbringer mains love. They love all these types of things. So we're pushing towards this. Nice. Now, that's it for Lawbringer in this title update.
You seem to be implying something.
I do want to stress that we are aware that there's other concerns players have with Lawbringer, right? In the next title update, we have more changes coming that are affecting the hero's fight kit specifically. And the other thing that we know that players want and like borderline need is a roll catcher, right?
I may have seen 1 or 2 posts.
I've seen a couple of posts about it. I completely understand. So don't expect to have a roll catcher in the next title update. We are still working on figuring out exactly how a roll catcher for Lawbringer is going to work. The challenge that we have with this is that Lawbringer has a unique ability to cancel the recovery of his front dodge into any of his opener lights and heavies really like early at 400 MS in the front dodge, right? And so what this does is it creates a unique mix-up that very few, I think nobody else in the cast, I think like Warden has something like that a little bit, but it's really not as effective. So Lawbringer has this unique mix-up of front dodge into side light or into side heavy in some situations that really works, but then that blocks the inputs, right? If we give him a roll catcher blindly, we have to remove some of these options, and those options are super interesting. They're unique. I know people are always craving uniqueness for heroes. I completely understand. We want to keep that. So we're looking into how can we mix in a roll catcher with these types of attacks. So it's not coming next title update, but we are looking at a solution for it. That's what I can say. But the next title update, we're going to have a bit of some kit improvements that should really help Lawbringer.
Nice.
So that should be good. I want to reassure people, we haven't forgotten about Lawbringer. We know.
We still love him. He's great.
We still love him. We know he's extremely popular with the community. Lawbringer mains are very vocal. Yeah. We get it. So we want to make sure that we have stuff that's a bit more interesting.
Yeah. Awesome.
Other changes after we go after Lawbringer, right? So Warmonger. Warmonger can now perform Praying Claw. That's the bash that Warmonger has. From 100 to 500 MS during a front dodge. It used to be 3 to 5. This is the same buff that we gave Warden a little while ago. We're giving it to Warmonger as well. This should significantly increase her ability to open up opponents. We know that on Warden it was very, very, very successful. She has like some tools that are a little bit different than Warden, but at the end of the day, that is also a very, very strong tool that she has. It'll give her better ways to open up opponents, so that should be good. Nice. For Berserker, it's a small nerf, but it's a little bit different here, right? So again, it's the chaining timing between zone attacks and chained light attacks. When buffered, is now at a minimum 266 MS when it used to be 100. So what this solves is the problem that when you have Berserker and you would throw a zone attack, if you chained into a light, the window to parry that following light was 1 frame. So you had to do like a super late parry. It's a 1 frame window. It's very, very difficult to land. It's super frustrating to play against. Yeah. Zerk's zone attack is already extremely strong at setting up ganks and confirmed attacks and stuff. So we wanted to adjust this so that it reduces the frustration of playing against Berserker. It's a slight nerf. You can still chain. You can still do stuff. But it just won't be as strong as it used to be.
Nice.
And then finally, we have also changes to Varangian Guard. So Varangian Guard... when we did a fix, I think last title update or 2 title updates ago, I don't remember exactly, we had an issue where when you would throw, especially on sides with Varangian, it would be really difficult to wall splatter to ledge. And so we fixed it by making the window to wall splat and to ledge at a specific timing, but we aligned both of them so it would make sense, right? Yeah. What this caused is that if you were at certain distances, if you throw into a wall, you would not get a guaranteed heavy because of the way that when the wall splat ended up happening, it was happening a little bit too at weird timings. And so because of this, you couldn't really get that punish. So we've adjusted the window.
I thought I was going crazy because I couldn't get my top heavy
at like different timings, so that now it should always be guaranteed every time you throw somebody with Varangian into a wall, no matter what the distance is going to be. So it's a bit of a change in quality of life thing here, but that's pretty good. And then finally with Janjun. So you remember a testing grounds that we did a long time ago. I don't even remember exactly when it happened.
We do a lot of them, yeah.
But it was our guard break vulnerability change.
Oh, yes, this one, yes.
That did not pan out. It wasn't successful. At the end of the day, these things happen, right? It's okay. Yeah. But one change that we had tried in there was that Janjun could go into Sifu's poise, so pressing down on the right stick, at the same timing as dodge during his hit recoveries. Now, what that meant was that the hero was now able to punish bashes with Sifu's poise. Because one of the problems that JJ has quite often is you're getting pressure by opponents, they throw a bash at you, and it's impossible for you to punish it because the side dodge attacks are too slow. It's really, really difficult. So with this instead, what you can do now is, let's say you're playing somebody that has a chain bash. They're going to throw a light, do a chain bash. You can go into Sifu's poise to use your iframes at the beginning of that move to dodge the bash and go straight into a zone attack and punish that bash.
Oh, wow. That's
one of the
good
big abilities JJ was lacking. It was really difficult to perform in 1v1s. So because of this, we tried to give that back to the hero. It was a really successful experiment. I remember seeing comments from a lot of players that was one thing they really, really, really liked. And so it took us a little bit of time to figure out like the proper timing to put it back in and everything. But I'm super happy to say it is back in. It's super cool. It gives GG a lot more viability in 1v1s.
Wow.
So that is it.
That's it, boys.
I went to a black screen. That's great.